This is Kissing Frogs, a podcast about relationships and how they change us. I'm your host, Dr. Molly Burritz, a clinical psychologist specializing in relationships and women's mental health. With my guests, we'll share personal, heartfelt stories about love and loss, from the first spark to the messy middle and whatever comes next. So let's get into today's episode. Y'all, if you are in it with dating, first of all, I feel you. And boy, do I have something for you this week. Because this episode, you are going to hear from a person who went on 100 dates in a year. She is a bona fide dating expert. She's the creator and the host of the Dating Intentionally podcast. Her name is Talia Koren, y'all, and she has so much to teach you. She came here today to talk about a relationship that she had for 6 years. She dated her ex for 6 years, 3 of which she lived with him for. And she realized all those years in that he really couldn't meet her needs. And she talks about all the things that she sort of did to make this relationship be something that it couldn't ever really be, and how she finally gave up the struggle and let go of what she couldn't control to create space in her room, an entire year of her life where she did nothing but date casually. And so if you're one of those people that struggles with not wanting to be alone and staying in a relationship for too long because the alternative is too scary, or because even though it's not satisfying, it's comfortable, this is the podcast episode that I want you to listen to this week, because Talia has so much knowledge and experience to drop on you with this. She's a delight, y'all. Anybody who's dating and who's in it, there's something in this episode for you. And so let's get into it. Talia Koren, we're so glad to have you here on Kissing Frogs today.
I'm pumped to be here, Molly.
So, we are just so excited about your story because you went through a difficult breakup, and that propelled you toward this mission to go on 100 dates. And those 100 dates eventually led you to your husband.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just so appreciate your generosity in coming here to talk about the origin story, which is this relationship that failed.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I want to say I did not set out after my breakup being like, I'm going to go on 100 dates and then I'm going to find my husband. I didn't think it was going to play out that way.
Yeah.
After my breakup, I really just wanted to put in practice everything I had learned in therapy into new connections, because I had really been through it with my ex for 6 years.
Wow.
And I'd been in therapy for more than half of that time, really trying to make the relationship work.
Yeah.
And I just knew it wasn't working. So I was excited to apply everything to just a new relationship, new connections. But I made a promise that I would be single for a whole year after that.
Okay. So, wow, 6 years, 3 of which you were really just trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go there. Let's go back in time. And first of all, what do you want to call this person?
Just my ex.
Okay, my ex. Got it. Give me the meet cute. How did you? It's a guy, right?
Yeah.
How'd you meet him?
We met online on OkCupid.
Okay.
It was pretty early days OkCupid when their app was pretty new. I think one of the mistakes I made is I actually was fresh out of another breakup and I hopped back on the apps, and I think there was only 2 weeks between the two people.
Okay.
He did not know that, but we met and we both weren't looking for anything serious, but tale as old as time, it turned into something serious.
Yeah. Okay. And so paint a picture for me of what things were like in the beginning.
So in the beginning, I remember I was in a place where I was like, I just want to find a guy who's hot. Okay, I'm 23. Let's just remember
Important to know.
I'm 23 at this stage.
Gotta set the stage here.
I wanted to find a guy who was hot. I was like, I never dated a really, really good looking guy. I wanted someone, my perception of what masculine was at the time, someone who is into outdoorsy things, like can go camping with me. And that's who I found. But that was the only reason that I was interested. I wasn't thinking about anything else. And that I
Yeah.
think was a core issue.
Yeah. Yeah. But he had that.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was super hot.
And yes, very attractive. And of course, he had a lot of integrity, a lot of amazing qualities.
Okay.
Um, we got along great. All the pieces were there, but I wasn't thinking about my needs. I wasn't thinking about communication styles. Attachment wasn't even a concept I knew about. So
Yeah.
I was really going into it just being like, if I really thought my relationship philosophy was if two people could really work at it, that it would work.
Right.
And I think that relationship proved me wrong.
Okay. So you went in thinking as long as both people are committed and ready to do the work, nothing will get in our way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not about compatibility. It's not about specific traits. It's about how much work you're willing to put in.
Yep.
Right. And looking back now, of course, I don't know how this story ends, but oftentimes what I find is that if you want to understand the end of a relationship, you should go back and look at the beginning of a relationship.
Yes.
What do you see now at the beginning? I think it's hot right now to call them red flags. I don't know if they need to be red flags, but what did you see at the beginning that you now know was something that you would pay attention to?
I can pinpoint this moment so well. I
Okay.
still remember it so vividly. It was about maybe a month or two into dating. I think we were officially boyfriend, girlfriend at that point. And I was working at the time in the entertainment industry,
Mm.
and I had a really tough boss. I mean, I was working at a talent agency. And I remember hanging out in his apartment. This was when he had like a bunch of roommates, again, early 20s. And I was I was venting to him about my boss. And he looks at me and he goes, I just really wanted to relax right now. I don't want to do this right now. And he just shut me down. And I really didn't know what to make of that. I remember I slept over. I felt really weird the next morning. Like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? And looking back, that was a huge red flag. Just when thinking that I wasn't like hysterical or anything. Not that there's anything really wrong with that, but I was just kind of venting to him about the stress I was having at work, and immediately was like, no, can we just not? I'm trying to relax.
Wow.
If that happened to me today, I would be out of there.
Yeah. And instead you stayed for another 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, wisdom is
I
worth
know.
everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you said you were looking for someone who was really hot, but were you intentional about what kind of relationship you were looking for, like what you were moving toward?
In my mind at that point, it was just marriage. It wasn't what shape that took or what the relationship would feel like at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did know that you were looking to get married eventually. And so you weren't just dating around. You weren't just looking for something casual.
I was always in a long-term relationship, like from high school, again, till I was 29, pretty much always in a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. In college, I had maybe a long-term situationship for a couple of years, but I wasn't like really single, like a lot of people who I know are listening are maybe for many years.
Yeah.
And so I think I was just a relationship person.
And in retrospect, how do you understand that you were never single, that it was 2 weeks and you were back on OkCupid?
I mean, part of me is like, I am good at relationships.
Yeah.
I know how to be in them. I like being in them. I think I'm just inclined. My brother is the same way, and it could just be something we share in our DNA, the way we were brought up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is your family a family that is really relational, that like relationships last, relationships?
No, my parents are split.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I just think my brother and I both always had someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that your parents being split sort of informs you in that way at all?
I mean, kind of. I think my parents' divorce, it very much left each of us as their own island. That's what it felt like in the family. So I think it was like a way of like securing just an attachment to someone, because our parents were kind of like, we're out. And my reaction to their divorce, I was in high school, was like, this is your problem. I'm not part of this. I'm not dealing with this. This is what you guys did. I'm out. I'm going to college. Yeah. So I think I just had to find a base somewhere else.
Yeah. So you really detached.
Yeah.
And then tell me about the phase of the relationship when you maybe first started noticing there was some discontent.
I think, we did a year of long distance. He was in the Army, so he deployed. And I actually had the chance to move out to Colorado, which is something I really wanted to do,
Mm.
for myself. So it was kind of great that I had this amazing time in Colorado being a nature girly, and he was doing his thing, and he really benefited from that deployment in so many ways. So, but the long distance, I think really that was where the cracks really started to show. We made it through, but I think because long distance is already hard, I thought the challenges were because of the distance and not anything else.
So tell me, what were these cracks that started to show that you thought that they were about the distance?
It's your classic anxious avoidant cycle, right? With
Mhm.
him being avoidant, me anxious.
So tell the listener what that is.
So what that would look like is me really working really hard to get connection, to feel connected to my ex, and him to kind of seeing that as a threat to his independence and autonomy.
Mm.
So we were just in this constant dance where I'd push in, he'd pull away, then I'd pull away, and he'd push towards me. And there was never really, or there were rare moments where we were just kind of turning towards each other. And if that's all that can feel normal. That could just feel like, oh, this is what a relationship is. This is the work I was talking about earlier. Like, oh, this is just what it takes. And I really
Mm.
thought that relationships, when people say it takes work, it means it's okay to be really uncomfortable all the time.
Mm.
I just thought that was normal.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you thought that relationships work if you put in enough work, and they're gonna be work.
Yeah.
It's gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, I was really enjoying my time alone. So like I really liked being by myself in the mountains. It was, other than the long distance piece, it really was one of the best years of my life.
Yeah.
So it was tough to see through all the distance, through this novel experience I was having, that maybe I was in the wrong relationship.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the distance can kind of cloud things.
Yeah.
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 Do you remember like an example of a time that you were particularly hurt? What happened that you saw
Yes.
this anxious avoidant trap play out?
I mean, I don't know if this is textbook anxious avoidant dynamic, but I'll never forget my birthday
Mm.
when we were apart from each other. I was just really anxiously waiting to see what he would do, kind of, expecting something, a card, just something, like, even though we were away. And I remember I got very upset at him because it was like, there was a time difference. So let's
Yeah.
remember that. But I got very upset at him because I was just like, I was expecting something. And we got in a big fight. And of course, it turns out that he did actually send me something. It just, I kind of got prematurely upset. And
Mm.
he also didn't tell me that anything was coming.
Mm.
And just things like that, these miscommunications were very common in
Yeah.
our relationship. And there were just many ruptures we didn't really know how to repair properly. And I think when we came back after the distance, we moved in together. And that was also another mistake.
Mm.
Again, that's kind of being on the relationship escalator, right? You're like, okay, well, you're moving back and we've been together for 3 years. So guess we should move in, with like no other discussion of what that means.
Okay. So it was just kind of like the next step, the thing you
Yeah.
do, but you weren't really talking about the future and a plan.
I was dreaming of marrying him
Mhm.
constantly.
Mm.
That's something that actually kept me going through the distance. I had
Mm.
this like fantasy that he would just propose to me the second he got back.
Yeah.
I was in my late 20s at that point. So that was something that was on my mind. Of course, that didn't happen that way. And then we moved in together, and all of this that I'm explaining got way worse. All of the
Okay.
dynamics, because moving in together doesn't solve your problems.
Yeah. In fact, it can exacerbate them. What did conflict look like in this relationship?
This is where it gets textbook. It was me bringing things up in the calmest way I could, right? I did have emotional regulation skills. I could bring things up just calmly, but then he'd shut down. And then, of course, that would agitate me. And I'd be like trying to be like, why aren't you talking? Like, please say something. He's withdrawn. He shut down. It's not silent treatment. It's just like, now I know it's just he was so emotionally flooded. He could not speak. He was too overwhelmed. I did not know that then. And I would have treated those moments differently, I think, if I knew more about attachment. But that happened over and over. And it got worse and worse, to the point where He would couch himself, meaning he'd like not sleep in the bed with me and like go to the couch, or we would have a fight and then not be able to talk for like 2 days, and we would be, kind of making sure we're not crossing paths in our apartment. Like
Wow.
he would be out and I would be out. Like we would,
So uncomfortable.
so
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And I
No,
thought that
no
was just
conflict
part of it.
resolution
Yeah.
skills. Yeah, you didn't have like really a different experience. So this you thought was the work.
And yeah, and after a year of living together with this happening, that's when I started going to therapy. I was like, I need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Then I actually did try to break up with him. I was like, this isn't working. And he pulled me back in. I think that happened twice
Huh.
before I actually called it off.
How did he do that? How did he pull you back in?
He said, let's have a blank slate. Let's work on this. Of course, he refused to go to therapy with me, but I was like, okay, I guess we'll work on it. Back to my core philosophy that relationships take work.
Yeah.
And it just did not get better.
Yeah. It sounds like this belief that you had that it's normal for relationships to be hard really informed how long you stayed.
Yeah.
But you guys weren't talking about getting married at this point.
No, and that's another red flag, is that all of our discussions about the future were heavy, tense, hard. I didn't know that they could be fun,
Mm.
But that eventually I woke up to that. It's like, whenever we talk about anything in the future, it's always really tense and it ends up just hitting a wall. Maybe that's not the right person for me.
Did you ever just ask about marriage and what?
Yeah. Yeah. But like for him, there's always something like, well, we don't know about kids yet, so we shouldn't talk about marriage, or we haven't figured out if you want to buy a house, so we shouldn't talk about marriage. Like there was always something that we had to figure out first.
Yeah.
Like he'd move the goalposts a little bit.
Yeah. And if someone really wants to marry you, and I really want the listeners to know this, if someone really wants to marry you, they don't have to have all the answers first.
100%. That's exactly how it was with my husband and I.
And I feel so like certain about my position that if someone wants to marry you, they need to know it irrespective of like everything figured out. Because the thing is that life throws you curveballs. And so you could have a plan that, well, once we have our house, then we'll decide about getting married. But you don't know what life is going to bring you. Yeah. What you do need to know is who you want to do it with.
Exactly. And
whatever life brings you.
With my ex, it was just not, that vibe was not there.
Yeah. You really didn't get the sense from him of feeling, it sounds, truly wanted.
Yeah. There was honestly what it was, Molly, was like, I didn't know what my needs were. And it took me like 5.5 years to figure out what my needs were in a relationship. And then about a couple months for me to realize he could not meet them.
Wow.
And anyone from the outside looking in probably could have figured that out. But when you're in it, it's really hard to pull yourself out and be like, wait a minute, these are my needs. And I think when we broke up, he was blindsided, which is always a shock to me. Like, how were you blindsided?
Wow.
We were having so many conversations and working on things and crying. And like, there was a lot of turmoil.
Yeah. Yeah. So you went to therapy. What did you discover about yourself that you needed?
My therapist is amazing, and hopefully I'll have her on my show one day. We'll get there. She really helped me. I remember just one day she asked me, she's just like, what do you need? And I think we had been working together long enough where it just kind of spilled out of me. It just was one of those moments of clarity where I was like, I need this, 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 and this.
Do you remember what any of those things are?
Yes, I talk about them all the time on my show. So I was like, I need someone who will have novel experiences with me, like travel. At that point, my ex, through the pandemic also, we weren't going anywhere. Even after the vaccines and stuff were out and we had them, we wouldn't be going to restaurants. And that drove me crazy, especially after being like in quarantine mode. I was like, we can go out now. And he wouldn't want to. So I was like, okay, I need someone, novel experiences, including travel, someone who's ambitious, which he did meet that need of mine, someone who wants to have goals and work towards them, someone who I want to be around when, crap hits the fan. That was a huge need for me. And when things are good. There was one time when I was running my former business, I had a huge milestone and he just kind of brushed it off. It's like, what is this? What are we doing here? You know, if we're not
Yeah,
going to celebrate each other's wins.
absolutely.
And I needed someone who was open to self-improvement and someone who was capable of empathy. And ultimately, my ex thought that empathy was fake. He was so avoidant that he viewed it as like just you're not being you're not being real. You're kind of just giving lip service to someone. If you're saying I know how you feel or I understand, he's like, yeah, that sounds really fake to me.
Yeah. He
And I was
couldn't really get in touch with that vulnerable part of
no, and
himself.
luckily, like I know this because we did stay in touch after our breakup a little bit. He got help, and he finally, I remember he came to me. He's like, "I understand what you were saying now about empathy." And I'm like,
Mm.
"Congratulations, welcome to
Mm.
the club."
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to ask you about when you got in touch with him after the breakup. But first, I want to hear about the
Yeah,
breakup. How did you sort of know you were at the point where you could make the move?
great question. I when I realized that everything else in my life was really good except for the relationship. I
Wow.
had great friends. I was enjoying work. I was crushing it, and he was still part of it, but he had a job at that point also. Um, there were just everything in my life was really full except this. I'm like, this is the one thing that's giving me anxiety and keeping me up at night for years. What am I doing?
Yeah.
And so I broke up with him the day that he actually mentioned that he was getting a work bonus and he was going to start saving for a ring. And I knew in my heart, I'm like, nope, we cannot move into that conversation. I don't want to do this. I'm out. And I was planning on breaking up with him like a week or two after that.
Yeah.
But when he said that, I'm like, I have to do it today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a pivotal moment.
I'm not someone who can fake it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's so painful to do that.
Yeah, it's super painful to like have to go through a period of time faking it, pretending, and
Yeah.
it feels like such a betrayal to yourself and to the other
It takes so much
person.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended it and he, we had it was over 4th of July weekend. So it was
Uh-huh.
like a long weekend of us just figuring it out. We lived together, we had finances together, we had a credit card together. Like, we had a lot of things.
Yeah.
It took us 3 months to fully untangle our lives. Like I was on his insurance, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we I think it was interesting. We were really good at breaking up.
How did he react?
He was super upset at first. He was trying he actually convinced me to have a break first
Mhm.
for 3 months.
Because this is now your third time breaking up with
Yeah,
him,
and
right?
it was like our 6-year anniversary that weekend too.
Oh, wow.
It was also a sign that we had nothing planned,
Wow,
right?
yes.
Like,
Not
yes.
that it has to be something
No,
outrageous or
we
huge,
there
but
was
it's just
nothing.
maybe something meaningful,
Nothing.
right?
Yeah. So it took like a few days for us to kind of talk through it, but then he decided to go to his family and I was gonna pack up and kind of like figure stuff out. And Molly, when I say this, it was the happiest like 3 months of my life after we broke up. I
Wow.
was euphoric.
Wow.
Like it was amazing. I went to Italy, I went to New York. I got within like the first 2 weeks of our breakup when we were on a break still, I like got an apartment and a car. I didn't have a car. And I was like, okay, I think this isn't a break anymore. Like,
Wow.
we are breaking up. And it was tough. So
This is so important for listeners to hear because I know that there's people out there who are on the precipice
yeah.
of wanting to make a change and they're afraid to do it. And they're thinking about what they're going to lose. And they're thinking about how much they're going to hurt someone. And they're thinking about how hard it's going to be. And they're thinking about having to get a new apartment and move out. And it's really overwhelming. But when you can get to the other side of it, the relief
Yeah.
that you feel makes it worth it.
So worth it. So worth it. And I was on the precipice for 8 months, I think. I think I was thinking about this. I had one foot out the door. I was
Yeah.
trying to get the other foot in the door for a while before I actually did it.
So you were really ready. You gave
Yeah.
yourself time. You were standing on the ledge looking down for a long time.
Yeah.
And you finally took the leap.
Yeah. And I was like, I deserve to get my needs met by
You
someone. I
deserve
really
to
do.
get your
And I
needs met.
also can meet my own needs as well.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in this relationship where my needs aren't being met. It's the one kind of anxiety inducing thing in my life. Why choose that?
Yeah. You looked around and you saw your life and you thought, I did all this. I
Yeah.
created all this. And so if I have all these good things, the common denominator is me,
Yeah.
and I can be happy with myself.
Exactly.
That kind of just attunement and self-confidence is so important foundationally, because without that, and I've been there, we do stay in relationships for so long because we think, I can't do it without this person.
Yeah, but you can.
You
It's
can.
hard. And I say I was euphoric. It hit me 6 months after I was really, down in the dumps,
Yeah. Tell
really
me about that, Talia.
processing. I mean, yeah. So I had 3 months of just, starting my new life. I got a dog. I got the car, got the apartment. It was an adorable apartment. I miss it. It was so
Oh,
cute.
yeah.
And I just started kind of lean more into my social life. I didn't start dating yet. I wasn't dating yet. I had to get all of it together and completely untangle our lives. So we couldn't do no contact until we were like fully untangled, right?
Yeah.
So that then after that was completely done, no contact. Then I started dating a little bit, not looking for a relationship, but dating. And then I actually took a break from my therapist for a little bit, and then I had to go back. So I'm like, okay. So yeah, 6 months after the breakup is when things were hard. That was when it really, like, did I make the right choice? I was
You
like,
started second guessing yourself.
in a way, I just felt really lost. Like I
Yeah.
started meeting people and it's like, oh my God, am I ever going to find someone like him again? You remember all the good things. But I do recommend for anyone listening, keeping a list of what doesn't work, because anytime that I was feeling like missing him, I would just look at the list like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it was a very
Because we
long list.
rewrite history, don't we?
Yes.
We have this selection bias where we remember the good times, we allow that to fuel our grief, and we forget about all the difficult things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I read The Artist's Way. I did that whole thing.
Mm.
That really helped.
Mm.
And I read some other books. Like I really I got to a point where it's like, okay, I can't keep muscling through this. I need to learn about how to get through a breakup.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of did it, like fumbled through it for the first 6 months after that. And then I was like, all right, I think I need to read about, like, I was avoiding it. And I learned, by the way, that I am avoidant. Like, even though in that relationship, I was on the anxious side, when I'm alone, I'm just avoidant. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Can you say more about that? Because I think people tend to think that you're one way and that's how you are in every relationship and
No.
it stays that way for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, I was like so not in the mindset to deal with anyone's stuff. I was like, oh, you have emotions and things. Now I'm out. I don't want to deal with that. I remember, like, also I'm avoiding other parts of life. I think that's another sign. It's not just relationships, just avoiding doing the work of processing a breakup.
Yeah.
That's also a sign of avoidance in a way.
Yeah.
You're avoiding yourself.
Yeah.
So yes, I was in therapy working with my therapist on that. I remember when I told her, I'm like, I think I'm avoidant. She basically started applauding me. She was like, finally, you figured it out. It was great. It was like, oh, you've known all along. So, and yes, I think with anxious and avoidant, it's two sides of the same insecure coin. So
Yeah.
it depends on who you're with.
Yeah. If you could kind of go back, I know you've had such a journey since then, the 100 dates and meeting your husband, but if you could go back and sort of interface with 23-year-old Talia who is looking for a hot guy, what would you tell her?
Keep it a fling. Stay single longer. You don't need to lock yourself down so quickly. And, but also, like, I don't regret anything because it really did lead me to where I am now. And we helped each other a lot in our careers. We had some great experiences together. Like, we ended up in Seattle together, which is where I met my husband. So I don't regret anything I did.
Yeah. This was, 6 years of your life.
Yeah.
What, if anything, did you lose as a result of being in this relationship?
I did lose a little trust in myself, and I did lose a little trust, or just, I felt like I couldn't love the same way. I did feel like after I had like a rock in my heart, something kind of cold and hard after. And I was angry. And I did have this moment of like, my ex, like that relationship turned me into a type of person or something that I wasn't before. And I learned that really isn't the case, that those things are always there. It's just people bring them out in you, and you can't like blame someone else for the way that you are.
Yeah.
But I did. So I wouldn't say I lost something, but that was like a period of time where I really was like, am I ever going to be able to love someone the same way again?
Yeah.
Do you still feel the rock in your heart?
No, of course not. You know, a year after the breakup, I felt I wouldn't say I was like fully healed. I don't believe in fully healed, but I was ready. My heart was open to deal with someone's flaws and to put the work into a relationship. So it did
Yeah.
take me a full year of that. And shortly after, I met my husband, and I was like, I was open, you
Yeah.
know?
You had that year single.
Yeah.
I know everyone's probably as curious as I am about when you talked to him again. How did
Oh
that
my
go?
gosh.
What were the circumstances?
Molly, I have to tell you, like, so we had 3 months of no contact.
Yeah.
And I was actually seeing someone else. I had like a short relationship, and I had to call it off with him because he was an alcoholic, and I kind of didn't know that. And then when I discovered it, I called it off.
Good
And
for
my
you.
ex, I don't know, the universe was really playing with me that day, or testing me, because my ex texted me the same day that happened. So I had
Wow.
called it off with this guy.
That really was a test.
Yes. So he reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, like I've just been processing stuff, and I want to reach out to you and like and have coffee." And I think he just wanted that moment of like, I understand where you're coming from. And
Yeah.
he had told me he'd work with a therapist every week since our breakup. And he's like, yeah, I'm connecting with my inner child, like all these things. And I'm
And
just,
he
and
hadn't been willing to go to therapy before.
what I learned is that our relationship did not give him room to grow. And that was a tough truth to swallow.
Wow.
Sometimes you're in a relationship with someone where you think you can grow together, but sometimes actually there isn't room for that. And that was part of my contribution to our dynamic of, he just didn't feel like he had any space to grow as a person. And because I was so nitpicky and like whatever, you know, that anxious attachment kind of controlling or like nitpicky, like, oh, you weren't good enough vibe.
Yeah. Well, your needs weren't getting met.
Yeah,
And so you were critical of him, it sounds
exactly.
like.
Yes.
And those aren't ideal conditions for
Yeah,
growth.
even if you try not to be, it's like it always lands as a
Totally.
criticism. So
Yeah.
I learned. So I was, of course, part of me was, I remember just internally rolling my eyes and be like, where was this a year ago or 2 years ago? But I know it's like, okay, good. You leave them better than you found them.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
so I was really happy for him. And, you know, that after that, we had only maybe gotten together a few times. That one was fine. But the other times, like we got a drink and we were like more friendly, nothing flirty or anything. Like there wasn't more, but those definitely threw me off because of course we started talking about our dating lives, and that is what sent me. Just knowing he's also having experiences with new people.
Yeah.
And that really took me out. So
That's
I don't
really hard.
recommend, if you see your ex after, I don't recommend talking about your dating lives.
Yeah.
Just keep it off the table. Just stick to like family and work.
Absolutely. It ended for a reason.
Yeah, you don't need to
right?
get into all that and then have all these like images in your mind of them being with someone else or
Yeah.
what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really believe this about the way of things, that when we are evolving in life and we're about to level up, that the universe will bring us a test or circumstances. And it's essentially asking us, are you really going to
Yeah.
level up?
Yeah.
Do you really, really want it?
Yeah.
Or are you going to make the same choice again?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he said he wanted to be friends, by the way. And so there was a point later, like closer to that 1 year mark after our breakup, where I was like, okay, like, yeah, we can get coffee once in a while, talk about work, business, whatever, projects. And I remember being open to this.
Were you still attracted to him?
Yeah, but like, no, I was seeing other people.
Okay.
I think dating did a really good job of putting emotional distance between that.
Yeah.
So of course, like he's an attractive person, but I wasn't just distracted by that or anything.
Yeah.
You know, when you live with someone for 3 years, you already know, like, I'm like,
Yeah. I've
So,
seen it all.
yeah, Sheila's seen it all. So, but we tried, like, he said he wanted to be friends. I remember kind of entertaining this, but then he didn't really follow through. So we just didn't talk anymore, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And we haven't spoken, and I hope he's doing great.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on living with someone before getting married?
So I'm mostly pro. I think that what I would do differently than the first time, which I did do differently, is have a set agreed upon timeline. If your goal is marriage, to be like, okay, and this is what I did with my husband. I said, we'll live together for 1 year. If at the end of the year we still don't know, we should break up. That's it. Like, I'm in my 30s. I'm not going to waste time living with someone for over a year. They still don't know if they want to marry me. If I don't know I want to marry them, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Let's just break up.
Yeah, I think that's very wise.
And my husband agreed to that. And, you know, so when we moved in together, my husband and I, in the back of my head, I knew if it didn't work out, I'm like, okay, I could go back to New York. I can go back to Seattle. If it doesn't work out, it's really not a big deal. I'm lucky that I can work anywhere. I think it's important to have a backup plan if you're not married.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think people, especially women, do not understand the financial ramifications
Mm-hmm.
of living with someone without the agreement that you are moving toward marriage,
Yes.
because
If
it
that's
can,
what you want.
if that's what you
Yeah.
want, right? Because it can really take you off course.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, often women will move in with the hope or expectation that it's going in the direction of marriage without having an explicit conversation.
I lived it. Don't do it
Yeah,
that way.
I've also
Yeah.
lived it. Don't do it that way. You should definitely talk about
Yeah.
what direction this relationship is going in before you move in. And I always say, do not make a choice that requires you to drastically change your life
Yeah.
until you know that you and your partner are on the same page about the direction.
100%. I mean, talk about a 180. When my husband and I were talking about living together and looking at places, we were also looking at rings.
Yeah.
He was like, send me your ring inspo. I'm like, great. So
Yeah.
I knew he was on that track. And we still were learning about each other. We weren't definitely going to be engaged at that point, but at least I knew that's where his head was.
Yeah. I mean, this is a big question, but maybe you can chip away at it a little bit. What did you learn by going on 100 dates?
I learned that dating is fun, which is why I started my show, because I think dating is also just one of the best ways to learn about yourself. It's a training ground for your relationship, and I wish more people saw it that way. You
Yeah.
get to test out and feel out different ways of communication, presenting yourself, connecting with people, what you like. I mean, it's just, there's so much to learn through dating.
Yeah. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that women make in dating?
If you're looking for a relationship, I think one of the biggest mistakes, I mean, there's two sides. It's either you're way too judgmental from the jump. I'm not saying you're being too picky or your standards are too high. It's just people are messy and not perfect. So it's
Yeah.
like you do have to give people a chance to really get to know who they are. And on the other side, we have people who are a little bit too forgiving and a little bit too like letting red flags slide, and they're a little too open to
Yeah.
like giving someone the benefit of the doubt. So you have to know which one you are.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finding that middle path of being discerning, but also flexible,
Yeah.
I think is a really fine line to walk.
Well, that's why I love having the needs framework, because for me, what that looked like was I have my 5 needs. Everything else is flexible. I was willing to not settle, be open for the rest.
Yeah.
Open to whoever was going to come in that package that I was looking for.
Yeah.
My husband is not my typical type. He's very attractive, but he's not anyone I would go for in the past, honestly, because he has red hair and so do I. And I was scared people would think that I would look like I'm a sibling with someone if I dated someone with red hair.
Yeah.
That's seriously what I thought. Why I never dated anyone with red hair before.
Yeah.
So at that point, though, when I met him, I'm like, you know what? I know this doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. So what do you think about these, it's so, I think, popular now in manifestation culture to like create a list of like 50 things you're looking for in a partner and be super specific and put it on your vision board. And what do you think about all that?
I think it all works. I really do. Whatever mode you want to do, whether it's like write a list of 50 things. There's the Heather Graham method. Have you heard of this?
No.
I think she talks about writing the list and like burning it.
Okay.
My method was writing my list of 5 needs and checking it after every day, kind of keeping it front and center in my mind. I think it's really important to write it down no matter how you do it.
Yeah.
I know another podcaster, Matchmaker Maria, she says, write your manifest and put it in a book in the library, or give it to someone. And it kind of tells the universe, you're like, here you go. Like you have to actually release it.
Yeah.
So yeah, do whatever you want. Just do it.
Yeah. I think for me, like the most important thing that I want women to know is if you are looking to date in order to be in a serious relationship or to get married, you have to be intentional.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, your standards have to be sky high or like you have to be so picky or anything. I just think you have to be thoughtful about it. And I feel like in my younger years, I had so many experiences of just caring about the butterflies, caring about the attraction. And that was like everything to me. So much so that if that was there, it was so compelling that I was willing to close my eyes to a lot of important traits I should have been paying attention to.
I definitely had sparks and butterflies with my ex, and I did not with my husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now I do.
Yeah.
But not in the beginning,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And this is what I always say to people who are like, yeah, but everybody says when you know, you know. And I think there have been a lot of times where I thought I knew and it wasn't
Yeah.
it.
I'm always like, finish the sentence. When you know what. It's like you
Yeah.
have to know the what
Yeah.
you are looking for. Otherwise, then that's the only way you're going to know.
Yeah.
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 It's not a feeling. I don't think it's a feeling at all. I think it's more about data
Yeah.
and
And about intention.
right. And intention. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited that you came here today. So grateful. This has been such a good conversation. I know that lots of people listening are going to want to know where they can find more of you. So how can the listeners support you and find you?
Yes, this has been amazing. You can find me on Instagram at dating.intentionally, and my podcast on all platforms is called Dating Intentionally.
Thank you so much, Talia Koren.
Thank you.
I'm Dr. Molly Burritz. This is Kissing Frogs, and that's our time for today.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Kissing Frogs with Dr. Molly Burritz. I want to hear your thoughts on it, especially if you loved it. So please leave a comment on Spotify or rate and review the show on Apple. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there. And if you think that a friend would enjoy this podcast, please share the episode with them. That's the absolute best way to help the show grow. You can find me on socials at Kissing Frogs Pod and at Dr. Molly Burritz. That's DrMollybUrrets. See you next time.